This is the moment the storming of the Capitol was launched.
So we're going to see some of what our witnesses saw on January 6th.
There's quite a bit of video you haven't seen, and that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th. Taken as a whole, the video record does not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection.
So the police were easily identifiable, right? They stood out.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then you said, like, what actually incited? What started? What lit the match?
Well, what lit the match is when they started throwing those flashbangs. There was a lot of veterans in that crowd too, and most of us are all combat vets because we've been in the war for so long. And when you start throwing flashbangs, like with me, man, the flashbangs, and that still gets to me now thinking about it. Man, dude, it brings you back to places you don't really want to go to. You know, the flashbangs, and they were everywhere, and they just kept going. So for people like me, the veterans like me, and I probably can speak for them too because this is how I felt about it. It was weird, man. Just being like we were being at war. It was war, you know, and we were being attacked, and we're not trained to run. As a veteran yourself, we're not trained to run. We're trained to stand our ground and help people and get through it. And that's what a lot of us did. And people that weren't veterans did the same thing. They stood their ground. But what started the whole thing, without warning, was when they all of a sudden started throwing the flashbangs in the crowd, not in the beginning, not in the front of the crowd, way out there to disorient people. And the gas, the CS gas, and at the same time they were shooting rubber bullets and all that into the crowd. That's what started all the chaos.
So they just indiscriminately took these actions, violence of action, escalation of force. It seems like they escalated it.
Yes.
They started with violence of action.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're saying that's what set everything off.
That,
so,
yeah.
Up until the point that they were indiscriminately firing rubber bullets into the crowd, did you yourself get into any type of altercation, or were you trying to protect somebody, or how did you get wrapped up in all this?
So man, I was trying to protect people. But I remember standing there one time. I was just standing there one time, and this is on video too. One of those officers in the black uniform comes up from behind me with his nightstick, or her, whoever it was, with their nightstick. And while I'm just standing, I'm not doing nothing. This is right after I got through yelling at them, saying, what you're doing is wrong. What are y'all doing? So one of them comes up from behind me with their nightstick and just shoves me in the back and tries to knock me down. I reach around, grab the nightstick, and we kind of struggle, and I just let it go. But out of reaction, I grabbed the nightstick because they just came up from behind me and hit me with it out of nowhere. And I wasn't even doing nothing. Man. It was a crazy day, dude, and so once all that happened and the chaos started happening, I think that's what they wanted, and that's when people really started getting irritated and mad, and that's when you start seeing people getting the bike racks and shaking the bike racks, you know, and a lot of people they were trying to shake the bike racks, you know, to kind of distract until get them to stop attacking people, I didn't get any physical altercations with the police. They were trying to say one time, I remember getting a cardboard tube. It was a cardboard tube and tossing it over the police line just to distract them, right? Just whatever you can do to distract them from them hurting more people, beating, because they were also reaching over the bike racks with their clubs and beating people over the head and that and stuff. So yeah.
So what I'm hearing, here's what I'm hearing there. That it started out peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of Americans were gathering to celebrate, but at the same time to let America know we don't feel like we have been treated justly in this election.
Exactly.
And as you're just really breaking it down, this is so good. You're breaking this moment down. I can smell the gas and I can feel the emotion,
yeah,
literally. And you're saying at the same time you did not you and nor any of the other people that you were not working with really, but spending time with, hanging out with, y'all didn't have this meeting earlier before you went to make these plans to do anything.
Yeah, right.
There was not this consorted initiative per se, which I've heard in the mainstream essentially.
Yeah.
You guys went to support who you feel was literally elected, and you went to support the ideas of America,
Yep.
the very ideals of America. And it was a very peaceful protest, which, by the way, for those who don't know, the Constitution allows for free and honest protests. Protests are actually encouraged in this country when done properly. And so there was no plan, but there were instigators, and that was not y'all.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely not. But what do you do? What are you supposed to do when you go to a peaceful protest? Like I said, people had helmets and they had gear, and the judges in these cases trying to say, oh, like one of my enhancements on my charge was planning. They're saying that I planned to go to the Capitol, to go into the Capitol, to fight the police because I had gear, and that proved it. People had gear and their helmets on, and their helmets because of to be prepared for the counter protest. That's the reason. You can't listen to these judges and the media saying, "Oh, look, they're wearing helmets and they have their pepper spray and this and that." That was for the counter protesters that were all on the social media threatening to come there. Not for the police. We love the police. I mean, we're not anti-police, and everybody knows that. We don't do that. We don't attack the police. The other side does that. The liberals do that. The Antifa does that.
What was that group that was the Patriot Guard Riders, the guys that did all the funerals for vets? Because I mean, at one point, people don't remember. I remember getting into it, having a discussion at the American Legion with some guys. Talking about there was a time in service, and I got out in 2013. That's when I retired. Man, there was a time where veterans were afraid to go off post in their uniform. People were burning American flags.
Yeah.
People were shitting on veterans.
Yeah.
I remember that. I was in service. Like I was active duty during that time frame. I have not forgotten that. Like your service was vilified. I mean, this country's been through some dark times, but it's been through some great times too, man. I mean, and just it makes me sick as a veteran and we're all veterans here. Marine and Army, you get have one in every group, right?
Yeah.
Man, it makes me sick to my stomach, man.
I hate to see the American flag being burned, and I think it should be a crime in America. But I guess I don't think that's a First Amendment right to burn your American flag. But what am I saying? But I hate to see the American flag being burned, and I saw all the time during the years of the first Trump presidency. And we saw a lot on TV. We saw a lot in our own towns and stuff of what these people were doing. Yeah. And who was funding all that is the Democrats were funding all that. I believe it was George Soros. He was funding all this stuff. And here's another thing that I believe. This is my opinion, but Antifa, you remember, everybody remembers them dressed in black and showing up on. They're separate from BLM. The Antifa group, I believe, was a formed group by maybe the FBI or somewhere in the deep state. That it was a formed group to go out there to do that. It was funded. I remember coming up to these guys. There was one statue thing that where they were trying to tear down a statue, and it was in Weatherford, Texas, and they have a Confederate statue there, the Daughters of the Confederacy. It's at the courthouse, and I talked to one of these Antifa people there that were there. And they told me that the guy told me that they get paid to go to different towns and they bus them. They were getting paid. They admitted it. But I don't know what to say about the things that they were doing. Was just we all watched it on TV for 4 years, man, and it frustrated a lot of people. and we were frustrated us that they were getting away with it. You had them not going to jail. You had them the ones that did go to jail, they were getting right back out. And I mean, they were beating police up. They were taking over police precincts. They were lighting fires, blowing up cars. They were doing all sorts of stuff. Our side doesn't do stuff like that. They were taking over neighborhoods. They took over a neighborhood one time. I think in it was Oregon, maybe, I can't remember. But the destruction they were doing that many of us watched on TV, especially if you're a veteran, man, that was personal. And that's one of the reasons I really got involved with and started that Patriot Boys, is to counter all that, because the police had their hands tied behind their backs. They were scared to do anything, which they had a right to be scared to do anything, because they were being punished, for doing anything. But the Patriot Boys came in, and we wanted to do something. Most of us were all veterans, but anybody could have joined, and it was people that wanted to do something to protect people and to counter all the destruction that we spent 4 years watching. And so,
Well, this is, again, this whole story is fascinating to me. I would love to really take that next step of this process. I want to know how in the world you got arrested. How did they arrest you?
Yeah.
What did it look like when all of a sudden some got arrested on site, but then there were people being arrested months and months and months later? The FBI is looking for people.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how that whole process, to your best understanding, worked. And I really want to know exactly what happened to you.
Yeah, well, we'll go down to the next step then. That's where it starts. Yeah. So, about 2 months after January 6th, I was interviewed. We left January 6th knowing that we didn't do nothing wrong. We didn't have nothing to worry about. I didn't even go in the Capitol. There was somebody having a heart issue, and I ended up taking them back down to the grassy area. It was just too crowded to go back up there. So I never even actually went to the Capitol. But about 2 months after January 6th, the FBI wanted to interview me and the vice president of the Patriot Boys. And so I said, I was sure, I have nothing to hide. We don't do nothing wrong. I'm happy to meet with them. So we met with them, and I sat across the table with them, and they just was asking questions about the Patriot Boys. And I'm thinking, okay, well, they're worried about militias. That's what they were talking about. And they said they're investigating all militias and finding out what they're about and stuff. Well, I told them what we're about. Exactly what I'm telling America right now, and you guys, is what we're about, community service. And so then they started asking questions about January 6th and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know anything about that. So the FBI agent that was asking the questions, he ended up saying something. We ended up discussing something with the other FBI agents, because I brought up a discussion with FBI agents and the whole Russian hoax thing and everything. And he counters me saying, well, Trump did this and Trump did that, and that's something that Nazi Hitler does. And so he started comparing Trump to Hitler. And right then, I just was like, I shut up, and I knew where I was at, and I couldn't. I knew this was a little trap. And so I stopped. So I left and got out, or the discussion ended, and I left. So we got it. So after that, the Patriot Boys got a call, and I can't go too much into exact locations or anything with this whole border thing, but we got a call for help down at the border, because the border was wide open, and there was a lot of illegal immigrants coming through the ranches down there with families living on them, and they were coming through these ranches, tearing up the fences, cutting the fences, leaving trash, and at one point they went to a widow's, and this is before we went down there, but this is one of the things I was told. I think it was when the Haitians came through. They went, some of them that crossed the ranch they were breaking into houses too, ranch houses too. But one of them, there was an elderly lady in one of them, and they went in there. She was a widow, and they beat and raped her, and that's one of the things I was told when we were asked to come down there to help. And so that right there, and sex trafficking and stuff was going on. But when I heard about that, the elderly lady situation, I was like, yeah, we're gonna go down there and help. So I set up something to where we can go down there, and I was bringing in anybody that wanted to help. We were working different ranches down there, right? And we were fixing fences, cleaning up the trash, and kind of just doing deterrence. Deterrence, I can't really go into that or whatever, but we were helping them where illegal immigrants wasn't going to cross on that ranch no more, and that's what we're doing. I gotta be careful, but go
So
ahead.
basically, what he's talking about, we have several buddies that go down to
Yeah.
the border and help independent farmers protect their land. And basically, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Rooster, but they'll just go down there. You help out guys protect their land. Fences are getting destroyed. Cattle's getting stolen and slaughtered. I mean, there's, regardless of how you feel about illegal immigration, we're not here to talk about that. But people are coming in on private land, destroying property, destroying livestock, taking and stealing whatever they need. I'm not here to justify that or vilify it. But that's basically what these guys are doing down at the border. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of deterrents and a lot of them are fixing the fences and stuff. Like a lot of people, all those ranches down there have exotic deer. They have high fences and they keep them so when they get cut, they get out. So a lot of these exotic deer are out.
And that's the way they make their living, right?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
That's why they make their living. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was in charge down there, and like I said, I was bringing in Patriot Boys for months and months, in and out. I was even bringing in members of other groups. And we were doing a lot of good work for the community. That's what I can say. We did good. We did a lot of positive things down there, and they loved us down there. Matter of when I got out of prison, I just left back from there because there was a lot of people that wanted to visit with me because I was up for that. So I was arrested down there. We won't go into my arrest. So I never knew that I had any kind of warrants. I never knew that the FBI was actually looking for me ever. What tipped me off was when I did finally suspect it so I was arrested, I think December 13th, right before Thanksgiving. December 13th, 2021 is what it was. So right before Thanksgiving, about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I got a call. I didn't answer it. Then I started getting texts from someone saying they were a reporter. And I don't know if it was a real reporter or not, but they started texting me asking me about my involvement in January 6th. And that's when I knew, well, if they're looking for me, the FBI is probably looking for me, but I never wanted to confirm that. I wanted to kind of put it out like, no, that's not happening. So I kind of suspected it and everything. And then December, I think it was December 13th rolled around, and they had helicopters waiting for me is what I heard, and a couple of the MRAPs waiting for me, and they wanted to run through fencing through the ranch, bust down their gates with those, and come get me. Now, what I was told is they wanted not just to make an example. They had like I said, MRAPs, helicopter. They wanted to make an example out of not just me. They wanted to make an example out of the ranchers down there for getting people out there to help them. They wanted to put a stop to it, and they wanted to scare the ranchers. And this is coming from high-profile people out there. So that's the reason they were going to do that. Luckily, that didn't happen. It didn't happen for several reasons. I did turn myself in. I didn't try to run. I didn't try to fight or anything like that. Once I heard that there was a warrant, I turned myself in. I went outside of one of the ranches and was handcuffed and everything down outside of the ranch and turned myself in.
How did you get notified there was a warrant? You always suspected they were looking for you, but how did you get notified that you were actually?
One of the locals notified me that day, saying they were wanting to come and bust down this place right now, and so I needed to do something quick. And really to prevent that, I just turned myself in. You know, I don't have nothing to hide. I didn't do nothing wrong, and I just spent the last 4 years saying I didn't do nothing wrong. and I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm proud of what I did. I stood my ground, and I have no regrets. But so I go back. The FBI somewhere in Del Rio, Texas, at one of the little houses or whatever, and they're asking me questions. Every time they're asking me questions, I keep saying lawyer, lawyer, lawyer. I'm not telling them nothing. So they kept asking me questions. I think they're supposed to stop me after the first time.
I thought so. But
Yeah.
trust the system.
Yeah. So I kept saying lawyer, lawyer. I want to talk, a lawyer. And then they got me to talk some. Besides me saying lawyer, they got me to say something else because it pissed me off. And so what they ended up saying is, well, we heard that you were down there on these ranches getting illegal immigrants and y'all were beating them and abusing them and torturing them out there. And I'm like, are you serious? That's not true at all. That's completely false. And they knew it was false, but they got me to say that. And
Just to clarify that, I don't mean to stop you, but I don't want to interrupt the flow. When you do, and we have some mutual friends down there, basically all you do is set up an LPOP, right? That's listening post, observation post, and you're reporting. That is all you do.
yes,
Right, so you call in border patrol. Generally, it's just like messing with a game warden if you're on the hunting property.
Yeah.
Generally, you know the game warden. You know the local border patrol down there. You know the local sheriff's office. Hey, bro. Hey, chap. We got these guys coming in.
Right.
we're notified.
Check this out. That's it.
That's it.
You are monitoring and reporting. You are not intervening.
Right.
Right. And
We
I just
didn't
want to
touch
make sure I
them.
understood it.
Yeah, we weren't touching nobody. We weren't handcuffing nobody. We weren't doing nothing. We had drones, and that's one thing I say. We did have drones and stuff, and that's exactly what you
You're
said.
extra
We were
eyes.
no- we were
Extra
extra eyes.
and
Yes.
communicators.
Yeah.
It's a deterrent. Like you
That's all
said,
it is. It's deterrent. Yeah.
Right. And we did a lot of notifying.
And you're helping people who need some help.
Exactly.
You walk up in a dark house, right? You walk up to my house, you see me standing in the doorway, take your ass to another house.
Yeah.
Right? That is a deterrent, right?
That's
there.
right. That's
All the
right.
lighting, you know, I mean, that's all it is.
If I saw you in the dark, I would turn and run.
Yeah.
I'm
You're
scared.
always welcome.
I'm already scared. I'm scared thinking about it.
So yeah, you're right. That's exactly what it was. But they said that and everything, and I just got real mad, and I was like, "That's a lie. That's not true." And I don't know who told you that. This and that. I was pissed. Anyways, they asked me something else, and I said lawyer. So they finally gave up, and they said, "Okay," ordered everything up, and handcuffed me, and took me to the Geo Facility jail in Del Rio. Booked me in, told them to put me in solitary confinement. Went to solitary confinement. And the solitary confinement down there is you don't have a cellmate. You're by yourself. And from what I remember, it's a dungeon down there. It's dark. And everybody's caged up in there. So they put me in solitary confinement. And man, I believe I was there for over 30 days. I was there for a while. And they didn't transport me nowhere. I wasn't charged. I wasn't being charged nothing. I wasn't being put forth for my charges in front of federal judges. What they did, and we found out later, is they lost me in the system. I was lost in the system in America, man, and they forgot about me. And supposedly they forgot about me.